Hey there. I am glad you're here. I got something to share, a tale of the vast ocean but not some typical fisherman's talk. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe to my channel. 3 months into the Arctic, and the cold had already stripped us of warmth and sanity. But the ocean had something else waiting for us. Something that moves beneath the ice, older than time, and vast enough to stretch beyond the horizon. We were sent to monitor its movements. December 13th, 2024. Location: Arctic Ocean, 78 degrees north latitude. The Arctic is a merciless mistress. The wind howls like the ghosts of forgotten sailors, and the ice cracks and groans beneath the weight of centuries. I've been out here for 3 months now, patrolling these frigid waters aboard the Erebus, a 300-foot mariner vessel built to endure the worst of what the polar sea can throw at us. I am Captain Samuel Hargrove, a man forged by the ocean. I've spent the better part of my 45 years chasing horizons, from the stormy coasts of Newfoundland to the black depths of the Pacific. My father was a fisherman, my grandfather a naval officer. The sea runs in my blood, though it has cost me dearly. My wife, Rachel, grew weary of waiting for a man who lived more on water than on land. We separated 5 years ago, though I still keep her photograph tucked away in my quarters. My son, Richard, is nearly grown now. I wonder if he dreams of the ocean as I did when I was his age. The Erebus is my home now. A vessel forged from reinforced steel, equipped with the most advanced sonar and surveillance technology money can buy. She's a beast of a ship, yet agile enough to weave through the shifting icebergs that drift through these waters like titans. My crew is lean but capable, 10 men and women who've chosen the solitude of the Arctic for reasons they keep buried beneath heavy jackets and silent stares. There's Wallace, my first mate, a grizzled veteran with a face carved from weathered stone and eyes that have seen too many storms. Then there's Delaney, our navigator, sharp as a blade and twice as cold. The rest of the crew, engineers, sonar techs, and deckhands, all share the same quiet respect for the sea and the dangers that lurk beneath it. The Arctic itself is a world unto its own. The sun barely scrapes the horizon, casting twilight over the endless expanse of ice and water. The air is sharp enough to cut through flesh, and the sea beneath us is a churning void of darkness that stretches miles deep. We've come here to monitor illegal fishing operations and track the shifting ice flows, but after 3 months, the isolation has begun to wear on us. The nights are the worst. The ice creaks and groans like something alive, and the sonar occasionally picks up strange anomalies beneath the surface, deep, slow-moving shapes that vanish as quickly as they appear. The crew jokes about ancient sea monsters, about things that lurk in the blackness below. But there's an unease that lingers, a primal fear that no amount of technology can dispel. I spend most nights in the captain's quarters, poring over charts and logs, trying to make sense of the strange readings we've been picking up. I tell myself it's just the shifting ice shelves or schools of fish migrating through the cold currents. 3 nights ago, the sonar picked up something massive moving beneath the ship. It was slow, deliberate, and far too large to be any known marine creature. It lingered beneath us for nearly 20 minutes before slipping away into the abyss. Wallace dismissed it as a malfunction, but I saw the fear in his eyes. We all felt it, that ancient, bone-deep dread that comes from knowing you are not alone in the dark. Now, as I stand on the bridge, staring out into the endless mist that clings to the horizon, I feel the weight of something old and terrible stirring in the depths. The sea has its secrets, and I fear that out here, in this desolate place where man was never meant to tread, we may have awakened something that should have remained undisturbed. I grip the worn railing and breathe in the icy air, letting it burn my lungs and clear my mind. But beneath my resolve, a darker thought lingers. What if the sea is watching us? What if something vast moves beneath these waves, drawn to our intrusion? You know, when you're out here in this different world, your mind races through different possibilities. Doesn't matter if you're a 50-year-old man or a child. I push the thought aside and turn back toward the control room. The night is long, and the Arctic does not forgive weakness. I've been at sea for most of my life, but the waters up here, they hold something different, something older. For the past 3 months, the Erebus has been assigned to this godforsaken stretch of the Arctic Ocean. Officially, we're here on a routine patrol, monitoring ice drifts and sea traffic. But beneath the surface of that mission lies a truth that most of my crew remains unaware of. We're tracking something. The air was thick with mist, and the temperature had plummeted to minus 20 degrees Celsius. You already know how it feels to see giant icebergs. Icebergs looming like giants, and the water beneath us churned with an unnatural rhythm. At precisely 0430 hours, the sonar picked up something massive, something that dwarfed any known submarine or whale. Some part of it was moving at a depth of 300 meters. Couldn't estimate the size though. I assumed it was a false reading, perhaps an underwater ridge or a school of fish clustered together. But as I adjusted the feed to thermal imaging, my heart froze. Command calls it Project Abyss. A codename, of course. The higher-ups won't give us much detail, only that anomalous readings began surfacing in this region 6 months ago. Disturbances deep below the ice shelf, massive movements that defy natural explanation. Some of the scientists back on the mainland theorize it's an unknown species of marine life. Others, well, they've suggested things that make even seasoned sailors scoff in disbelief. Wallace Reed, my first mate, has been my closest confidant through this. He's an old soul, built from steel and sea salt. We've shared the weight of this secret mission while keeping the crew focused on their duties. Wallace has seen more of the world's oceans than most men could dream of, and even he admits there's something unnatural about these waters. Captain Collins, our sonar tech, called out from the control room. We've got it again. 300 meters down. Same size, same speed as before. Wallace and I exchanged a glance. 3 nights ago, we picked up the same reading. Whatever this thing was, it was massive. Deploy the drone, I ordered. The submersible slipped into the water, its cameras cutting through the blackness. On the monitor, we watched the drone descend, light beams illuminating drifting ice particles and the occasional passing fish. Then, the darkness shifted. Something moved. At first, it was just a ripple in the water, too large to be even anything. God, is it even a living being or the damn fucking mountain? The drone sensors struggled to calculate its size, but the thermal imaging picked up faint traces of heat, far deeper and colder than any living thing should be. Wallace leaned closer to the screen. It's watching us. I felt the pressure build in my chest as the creature, whatever it was, slid past the drone's camera. A glimpse of smooth, armored flesh. A faint bioluminescent glow that pulsed rhythmically. Pull the drone back, I ordered, trying to keep my voice steady. The drone began its slow ascent, but the anomaly followed. The feed flickered, then static. Damn it, Collins muttered. We've lost it. A heavy silence fell over the control room. The crew looked to me for answers, but what could I say? Wallace's voice broke the quiet. Captain, whatever Project Abyss really is, it's a shady thing. Far beyond our understanding. I turned to him. Sound the alarm. All hands on deck. The klaxon echoed through the Erebus, and the crew scrambled to their stations. Floodlights lit up the surrounding sea. The ship trembled as something vast brushed against the hull from below. Engine room, report. I barked into the radio. Engines are operational, Captain, came the reply. But something's moving beneath us. It's enormous. Wallace's grip tightened on the railing. It's been following us for weeks, studying us, and now it's closing in. The Erebus felt like a speck on the water's surface, while something lurked in the abyss below. I scanned the misty horizon and whispered under my breath, if we've come to watch it, what happens when it decides to watch us back? The ocean doesn't kill you in a flash. It waits. It seeps into your bones, gnaws at your sanity, and when you're weak enough, it drags you under. I know the tricks the water plays. The phantom shapes that glide beneath the hull, the eerie echoes that bounce off the ice, and the shadows that linger just beyond the floodlights. Most of them are illusions. But this is something else. It's been 2 hours since we lost the drone. 2 hours since the anomaly, Project Abyss, as the brass calls it, closed in on us. The sonar pings tell me it's still there. The crew's on edge. Can't blame them. Men like us were built to handle storms, rogue waves, and the occasional pirate vessel. This was way above our pay grade. Wallace hasn't said much. He just stands by the railing, cigarette burning between his fingers, eyes locked on the black water. You feel it, don't you? I ask. He exhales slowly, the smoke trailing into the freezing air. The man's seen his share of horror, ships swallowed whole, men dragged to the depths by currents that shouldn't exist. But tonight, even Wallace Reed looks afraid. The Erebus shudders again. This time, it's not subtle. The hull groans as something massive brushes against us from below, scraping metal against flesh, flesh more rugged than rocks. Engine room. I bark into the radio. Status. Engines holding, Captain, comes the shaky reply. But there's pressure building. Whatever's down there, it's pushing against us. Wallace flicks his cigarette into the sea. It's testing us. I grip the railing and peer into the darkness. The Arctic wind cuts through my jacket, but it's not the cold that makes my skin crawl. A shape stirs beneath the waves. Not a glimpse. Not a shadow. Something vast. It moves slow, like a tectonic plate, that knows exactly how small and helpless we are. Collins, I call out to the sonar tech. Keep tracking its position. I want updates every 30 seconds. Aye, Captain, he replies, though his voice trembles. Wallace steps closer to me. This isn't just some deep-sea creature, Sam. It's aware. I want to tell him he's wrong, that we're just chasing another unidentified marine species. But I know. We've been sent here to track it. What the brass won't admit is that they don't want us to study it. They want us to confirm what they already suspect. That Project Abyss isn't something new. It's something that's been here long before our maps marked these waters. Suddenly, another tremor shakes the ship, stronger this time. From the depths, a low, resonant hum rises through the water. Not mechanical, not whale song. Something deeper. The sound crawls up through the steel, vibrating in my chest, rattling my teeth. What the hell is that? Wallace whispers. I stare into the black void beyond the floodlights. A warning. The Erebus feels smaller by the second. The scene is one of chaos and fear. Even the mighty orcas, known as the ocean's apex predators, are no longer the calm and calculated hunters they usually are. The orcas, usually the masters of the ocean, are cutting through the frigid water with a sense of urgency. They circle in a way that shows a stark change in behavior. There is no pride in their movements now, only a primal need to escape. From the ship, we watch in disbelief as these creatures, who rule the Arctic waters, abandon their dominance. While the crew mutters prayers. Some grip their rifles, though we all know bullets are useless against whatever waits below. The sonar blips again. The anomaly is moving, faster now, circling us like a shark that's grown tired of playing with its prey. Captain, Colin's voice crackles through the radio. It's rising. My gut twists. Wallace steps up beside me, eyes narrowing at the sea. If it breaches... I grip the helm, heart pounding. Time stretches differently out here. 3 months in the Arctic, and you forget what warmth feels like. The sun barely touches the horizon, and the cold seeps into your bones, turning your body into something slow, something brittle. We've learned to endure it. Meals on the Erebus are simple. Canned meat, dried fish, and whatever we can scrape from the supply crates. The cook, old McAllister, tries to keep spirits up with hot stews and stale bread. We joke that the stew tastes like engine oil and disappointment, but when the wind howls through the steel hull and the ice groans beneath us, that steaming bowl becomes the only comfort we have. When the sea is calm and the creature, Project Abyss, lurks somewhere out of reach, we gather in the mess hall. Wallace likes to tell stories from his younger days, tales of bar fights in Murmansk and women who still wait for him in Reykjavik. The crew laughs, though we all know Wallace never stays long enough for anyone to wait for him. On those rare nights, when the world above the ice feels too far away, we crack open the stash of beer hidden in the engine room. The bottles are warm and flat, but we drink anyway. Collins once joked that beer tastes better when you're staring death in the face. No one laughed that time. Tonight, there's no laughter. No stories. The Erebus groans as the ice shifts around us, and the beast beneath the waves moves. I sit in the captain's quarters, nursing a bottle of cheap vodka Wallace smuggled aboard. It burns going down, but the fire in my throat keeps the cold from swallowing me whole. Wallace knocks and steps inside. His face is pale, eyes shadowed from too many sleepless nights. It's still circling, he says. Sonar's tracking it about 50 meters down now. It's not going anywhere. I nod, taking another swig. We've been sent here to monitor it, I murmur. But what if it's been monitoring us the whole time? Wallace doesn't answer. He doesn't have to. We both feel it. The way the ocean seems heavier. The way the Erebus feels smaller, more fragile with every passing hour. Men who survive these waters are carved from something different. We've lost men to the ice before. One slip on the frozen deck and you're overboard. The cold doesn't kill you right away. It drags you down, fills your lungs with freezing water, and turns your body to stone before you hit the seabed. I've seen it happen. But this isn't the ocean claiming us. It is different. We are not meant to engage at any cost. The higher-ups back on the mainland think we're just observing, studying the anomaly. But we're not scientists. We're men who've stared down the worst that the sea can throw at us. And this thing beneath us? Collins calls from the control room. Captain, the anomaly is surfacing. 50 meters now. Wallace and I move fast, pulling on heavy coats and stepping out onto the deck. The Arctic wind cuts through my skin, and my breath turns to mist. The sea is black as oil, the waves gentle, almost too calm. The floodlights cast pale beams into the mist, but the darkness beyond them feels infinite. I hear it before I see it. A sharp sound that vibrates through the water and into the steel beneath my feet. We grip our rifles out of habit, but we know they're useless. The Erebus shudders again. I lean toward Wallace. If this thing decides to drag us down, there's nothing we can do. Wallace lights a cigarette with steady hands. We don't fight something of this magnitude. The creature moves beneath us, shifting the current, bending the water itself. And in that moment, surrounded by ice and ancient shadows, I realize we were never here to observe it. We were sent here to keep the world from knowing it exists. The ocean, they say, has memories older than the stars. And tonight, beneath the frozen Arctic sky, I swear I felt it. Something vast, something eternal, stirring from the black depths. We stood on the deck of the Erebus, rifles in hand, though we knew they were meaningless. The water rippled, slow and deliberate, like the breath of a sleeping giant. Then it rose. At first, it was just a shadow beneath the ice, a massive, dark shape that stretched far beyond the reach of our floodlights. But as it drifted closer, the water seemed to bend around it, currents shifting as if the sea itself was trying to escape its path. The creature's presence pressed against us, thick and heavy, like the weight of an approaching storm. I felt it in my chest, in my skull. An ancient hum that vibrated through the steel of the Erebus, rattling the bolts and making the ice groan around us. Wallace, standing beside me, gritted his teeth. "It's endless," he muttered. He wasn't wrong. The creature's form stretched beneath the surface, disappearing into the black. Miles of flesh, shifting and gliding. It was too massive to be real. Fuck, this thing doesn't belong to this world. And yet here it was. It never breached the surface. It didn't need to. What it carried was far more terrifying than teeth or claws. An aura that crawled through the air, thick and heavy, making it hard to breathe. My men felt it too. Some gripped the railing until their knuckles turned white. Others simply stared, frozen in place, as if their minds couldn't comprehend what they were witnessing. It wasn't aggression. It wasn't curiosity. It was a warning. A reminder that we were trespassers in a world that had existed long before the first men carved their names into the earth. The Erebus rocked gently as the creature passed beneath us. Through the thin layer of ice and water, I caught glimpses of its flesh, smooth, dark. There was a glow, faint and pulsing, like the heartbeat of the ocean itself. I saw ridges and spines that rose from its back, disappearing into the darkness. Fins that stretched wide, trailing behind it for what felt like miles. Or what I thought was an eye, blinked once. A pale, luminous void that seemed to pierce through the water and into my very soul. In that moment, I understood. God has plans for everyone. We shouldn't disturb the harmony. For what felt like an eternity, the creature drifted beneath us, its body stretching farther than the horizon itself. It didn't touch us. It didn't attack. It simply moved. And the sea moved with it. When it finally vanished into the black, the weight in the air lifted. The water settled. The ice stopped groaning. But the Erebus felt as if the creature had left something behind. Sleep became a distant memory. Even with the creature gone, its presence lingered in the marrow of the ship. The steel felt colder, the air heavier. Every creak of the Erebus and every groan from the ice sounded like distant echoes of something vast stirring beneath us. The men spoke less. No one dared joke or drink that night. Even Wallace, the hardest soul on the ship, sat in silence, staring at the black sea as if expecting the thing to rise again. I paced the deck, boots crunching against the frost-covered steel. The Arctic wind bit at my face, but I barely felt it. It wasn't fear that gnawed at me. It was something worse. A man can fight fear. He can grit his teeth, tighten his grip on his rifle, and face whatever comes charging out of the darkness. But this was helplessness. We'd witnessed something ancient, something that defied logic and science. And it had looked right through us, as if we were nothing more than insects crawling across the surface of its world. Collins called from the sonar room. "Captain, I think you should see this." I made my way below deck, heart pounding. The sonar screen pulsed with faint, rhythmic signals. Not the heavy, ominous blips that marked the creature's approach. This was different. A pattern. It echoed through the water, stretching far beyond the range of our instruments. Slow, like a pulse from the Earth's core. "Is it the anomaly?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Colin's face was pale. "It's something else. Further. Deeper." I stared at the screen, the signal repeating endlessly. The men whispered of old sailor tales, the legends of the deep that even the hardest seamen refused to speak aloud. The ancient ones that slept beneath the ice. Leviathans that roamed the trenches long before mankind learned to fear the sea. And now, had we awoken one? Wallace leaned against the doorframe, cigarette dangling from his lips. "You hear that sound, Captain? It's not a call for us." "Then who's it for?" I asked. He exhaled smoke, eyes dark. "Whatever else is down there." The ice locked us in, and the Erebus was too slow to outpace whatever lurked beneath us. The Arctic night stretched on, endless and unforgiving, as the signal pulsed through the water, calling to something we couldn't see. I stood on the bridge, gripping the helm as if my hands alone could keep the ship from being swallowed whole. The men moved quietly, eyes darting toward the black water. Every ripple, every subtle shift in the current sent panic crawling up our spines. The Arctic night pressed against the Erebus, wrapping us in darkness and silence. The sonar pulse continued, steady and relentless, like the heartbeat of something ancient. None of us slept. We drifted through the frozen sea, surrounded by walls of ice and an ocean that breathed with things we couldn't see. Wallace, the man who'd survived bar fights in Russian port towns and outrun pirate vessels off the Somali coast, looked like a man unraveling. He leaned against the railing, cigarette burning low between his fingers. The ember flared and died with the wind, much like the light in his eyes. I stood beside him, eyes fixed on the black water. "You think it's coming back?" Wallace shook his head. "No, it never left." The sonar pulse changed. It grew slower, deeper, as if something vast had risen from the trenches and now drifted beneath us, matching our pace. Collins called from the control room, his voice trembling. "Captain, there's movement below. It's massive." I didn't need to see the screen to know. I felt it. The pressure in the air shifted, pressing against my chest and skull. The Erebus groaned as if the steel itself could feel the ancient weight of the thing that stalked us. We turned off the floodlights. No man wanted to see what lurked beneath the ice. The darkness felt safer, though we knew it was an illusion. Some of the men whispered prayers. I stood at the helm, hands trembling as I guided the ship through the ice fields. We were mice on a glass floor, and beneath us, you know it, somewhere in the distance, the ice cracked. Not the sharp snap of a glacier breaking apart. No, this was deeper. A slow, thunderous fracture that rumbled through the water and shook the hull of the Erebus. Wallace's face drained of color. "It's not the ice breaking. It's moving." One of the younger men, O'Connor, snapped. He ran to the side of the ship and leaned over the railing, screaming into the void. "What are you? Show yourself." We pulled him back, but his eyes were wild with terror. "You don't understand," he sobbed. "It's not here to kill us. It's waiting, calling to something older. And when it answers, we all die." I slapped him hard enough to bring him back to the present. "We're not dying tonight. Not here." But deep down, I wasn't so sure. The sea shifted. Through the thin layer of ice and water, I saw it again. A shape that stretched beyond sight. A body that flowed with the current, slow and ancient. It wasn't chasing us. It was leading us. Wallace spoke without looking at me. "You feel it, don't you? It's showing us what sleeps beneath the world, so that when we return, we carry its warning." I gritted my teeth. If we return. We sailed on, shadows trailing us in the deep. We were men trapped between two worlds, one of ice and death, and the other of ancient things that remember when the world was young. And beneath it all, the thing we called Project Abyss. The ocean had gone still. No ripples, no wind, just the oppressive weight of the Arctic pressing against the Erebus, as if the sea itself was holding its breath. Beneath us, the shadows stretched endlessly, darker than the void between stars. The creature, Project Abyss as Command called it, stayed there. But it wasn't leaving. It was waiting. The sonar pulsed again. But this time, it answered. From somewhere deep beneath the ice shelf, a second signal echoed through the water. "Captain." Colin's voice cracked through the radio. There's something else down there. And it's bigger." The black water shimmered as faint bioluminescence pulsed from below, casting eerie, ghostly veins of light that stretched for miles. I gripped the helm tighter, fighting the primal instinct to turn the ship around and flee. This was what we were sent for, to observe, to monitor the anomaly. But none of us were prepared to witness God's stirring in the deep. The ice cracked far off to the port side. A fracture that ran for miles, splitting the frozen sea apart as something colossal shifted beneath it. The water churned, dark tendrils swirling from the depths as if the ocean itself was bleeding. We saw glimpses of it, massive ridges that scraped against the ice shelf, pale, glowing eyes that blinked from the darkness, and spines that rose like ancient towers before disappearing into the void. Wallace grinned, a mad glint in his eyes. It's not one creature. It's an entire world down there. I stared at him. A world that's waking up. He nodded. And we're the only men who've seen it. We didn't speak as the Erebus turned south, cutting through the black water, leaving the anomaly in our wake. The sonar signals faded, but the pulse remained in our bones. Even as the ice closed behind us, sealing the Arctic's secrets once more, I knew this wasn't over. We had been spared, not out of mercy, but as messengers. As I write this from my cabin, the men are quiet, some whispering prayers, others drowning their fear in whiskey. Wallace stares out at the endless ice, a man who's looked into the abyss and seen something ancient staring back. We've sent word to command. They'll send more ships, more men, but they won't find answers. Only echoes, because whatever stirs beneath the ice, you shouldn't wake it up. I hope they don't. And the Erebus, we will sail again. If you love what you heard, please like the video, drop a comment and do subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot. See you again.